John Chambers as Chief of Police for the City of Indian Lake, and I've known him as a professional person, an honest person, a hardworking person. Today I want to talk about things that I've discussed over the years with John Chambers. I've picked his brain over the years about what he thinks, how he thinks about things, what kind of a leader he is. I've watched him very closely how he's led the police department, and I've watched him very closely over the years how he has managed such a large, beautiful family that he has, how he manages himself as a man, as a human being, how he treats others is really important to me. The biggest hero that I have in my life is my father. And the leadership skills and the things that my father has taught us, the self-responsibility, take responsibility for your actions, be an example to others. Those are the things that I see in John Chambers. And that is why I decided to get behind him and push him to be, not push him to be who he is, because he was already that, but I want to see him in a leadership position in this county, particularly in the law enforcement field. And I think the chief law enforcement position in this county is the sheriff, and he's perfect for that. And he's perfect for that for many, many reasons. John has this ability to be able to be humble and to talk to others as if he's speaking to his grandparents. And these are people out on the street that he's never met. Yet he's tough on crime. He's tough on criminals. He has that ability to be able to make people feel comfortable with him, but at the same time, make those criminals shake in their boots. He has the ability to be able to stand up in a classroom full of children and be non-threatening and talk to them about their future and talk to the children about being good people and be non-threatening at the same time, yet turn right around 2 minutes later and make these criminals that are doing wrong shake in their boots. That's the type of person that we need. A person that is not only trustworthy, but comes from a humble family, comes from a humble beginning, is a family-oriented man, is also a businessman, a good businessman, and is just a plain good leader with a good heart. And that's why I like him. I want to talk a little bit about public corruption. We've all heard the things that have been going on in the Valley and across the United States, but particularly here in the Valley, we now have a federal public corruption task force here in the Valley that is funded in Washington and is funded and is supervised by the FBI. I can tell you now, without going into any detail, that both John and I, but particularly John, have been working very closely with that public corruption task force. John Chambers has this inner want, this inner need to do the right thing for not only himself and his family, but for others. And I think that's what attracts me the most to him, that a person with that type of thinking. A sheriff, well, let me backtrack and say, how many of y'all have met our Cameron County Sheriff? Have y'all met him? Have y'all ever talked to him? I see two people. The sheriff's primary responsibility in this county, besides enforcing law, is to get out into the public, into the communities, into the neighborhoods, into the schools, into the parks, anywhere and everywhere, every day, and talk to us. Talk to us about what he or she is doing, about what he or she wants us to do or should do in case of an emergency, in case we have a lost child, in case we have a burglary, in case we see a crime happening. I don't see our current sheriff's department doing that very well. The current sheriff that we have, Sheriff Martin Lucille, I know him for years. He is basically a good man. I don't have anything bad to say about him. His administration, though, and how he leads the sheriff's department is a different story. As the sheriff of this county, you must have people in your administration, you must have people under you that think like you, act like you, because they're a direct image of you. And if you cannot do that or not willing to do that, then you don't need to be in that position as sheriff, no matter how good of a man or woman you are. You must be able to have people under you that echo what you want in your sheriff's department. In the sheriff's department, it's by far the largest law enforcement agency in the county. It has huge responsibilities. They're responsible for multiple jails. If you have a major jailbreak here, you have a major riot in the in the jails, you need to be able to act quickly, and you better have your people trained to protect the public. Because protection of the public is your #1 responsibility. So you need to have good administrators and good people in the sheriff's department. John emits in his daily life a sense of calm. Don't be fooled by his smile all the time. He is a nice guy, but he will enforce the law. John Chambers has been a friend of mine for 10 years, but I tell you what, if I go over there and slap somebody upside the head, he'd be the first one to come and arrest me. And if he doesn't, then I would lose all respect for him. But I know that I won't, because I know that he will. It doesn't matter to John that I've known him for 15 years or 10 years or whatever. He will do his job. He will do what's right no matter who it is. He also knows that this compadrismo business in this county has got us into trouble before. This electing someone into office, this electing of a sheriff because he feeds you a plate of chicken and rice and beans and sings you a song, where is that guy? He's in prison. He's in prison because we elected him. Because he gave us a plate of rice and beans, sang us a song, and he sounded good. And he talked a good talk. Well, he talked very well, but he didn't follow it up. He didn't follow it up with action because it didn't come from within. It was just talk from here out. It didn't come from within. He was not raised as a good person. It is critical, it is our responsibility to push people, all of our responsibility to push people into elected office that are going to turn right around and help us, the ones that work and get paid and pay taxes. I've been a civil servant for 20 some odd years. I've been in law enforcement my whole life. I've been on that public corruption task force, gone after those elected officials. Nothing gets under my skin worse than a public official who takes advantage of others. If I did not believe that John Chambers, or rather, if I believed that John Chambers had this little smidgen of maybe he might do the wrong thing when he's in office, I wouldn't be standing here, sir. I would not be standing here. He's not afraid to go after the big tough guys, these bullies we have in this county. We have bullies here.
Yes, we do.
And these bullies are not always, they're not always in school grounds. These bullies are not always big muscle guys. These bullies sometimes are elected officials. These bullies sometimes come from the district attorney's office. These bullies sometimes are people that are well connected. As a sheriff of this county, as a law enforcement official of this county, we must be held to a higher standard than everybody else. Have you ever seen police officers on television that block the camera when somebody's filming them? They don't want you to film them? Huh? Why not? There's nothing wrong with that. You're doing your job, you don't have to worry about somebody filming you. Recently, they tried to pass a law against people filming police officers on the street. Some police officers were for it. I wasn't for it. Neither is John Chambers. If he had his way, I know him so well, I can speak for him sometimes. If he had his way, he'd have a camera on him all the time, transmitting everything he does to all of us on some private TV channel. If he had his way, if he had the ability to be able to do it, he'd do it.
Sir.
That's the kind of person that we need as our sheriff. Again, as far as public corruption, it is the sheriff's responsibility to make sure that his or her staff, in this case his, because he will be our next sheriff, go out into the community and train others, and train their staff and their new staff and their jail staff and everybody else, and train them on what to do and what not to do on a daily basis. Only what the sheriff says rules in that sheriff's office, not the politicians, not the commissioner's court, not the county judge, not anybody. How many of you know who our Secretary of State is, Cavazos, who's in Austin, Texas now, working for the governor? All right. Whether you're for him or against him, or you're Republican or Democrat, it don't matter. My last position that I had, I was the Chief of Homeland Security, Emergency Management for Cameron County. And I worked under him. And I'm proud to say that even though I did not agree then, I don't agree with a lot of some of his policies, it doesn't matter. He's a good person. He's an honest person. And I want to tell you that John Chambers, even though he may not think so, is a direct reason, or John Chambers is directly responsible for him being in Austin right now. Right here. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you how it happened. In the election of 2011, when the county judge re-election, there was some serious opposition in the Democratic Party to get their Democratic candidate elected. And there was a lot of backdoor, behind the scenes, mumbo jumbo going on. But what they didn't count on during the voting and during the voting count, this kind of ties in with voter fraud that I want to talk about. What they didn't count on was that John Chambers and his wonderful wife had volunteered to be election judges during the recount, and they were in there. Nobody was paying attention to them. They're kind of sitting back there, nobody paying attention. Well, sometime in the middle of the night, when they announced that The other person had won. We received a call from John Chambers, and we were told, without going into a whole lot of detail, about what had happened the day before and what he had witnessed, what he had seen. And it was because of the information that we received from John Chambers and his wife. It was because of that information that we were able to contact the Texas Rangers. We were able to do a very quick and thorough investigation and turn that election around. And we were able to find the fraud that they had tried to sneak in the middle of the night. But somebody was watching them. It's John Chambers. Did John Chambers have to stick his neck out and say anything? No. But you know what? It's that sense of responsibility that he has, it's that sense of civic duty that he has that makes him an outstanding person. It's that he did that was able to turn the election around, which gave the county judge, whether you're for him or against him, it don't matter, another 4 years in office, and he was handpicked by our governor to be our Texas Secretary of State, is because of John Chambers. Many people don't know that. I hadn't told that story before, but I think it's time that at least a few people know. Again, it is our responsibility. It is our responsibility, and nobody else's. We reap what we sow. We are what we eat. We eat garbage. We're going to be garbage. We surround ourselves with dogs. We're going to wake up with fleas. If you sow bad and you push people into office and have no business in public office, then we have no room to complain. It is our responsibility to elect good people into office, hardworking, family men and women that are transparent, that are going to do the right thing no matter what. There's an old saying that says, it is how we act when no one is watching that determines our credibility, we can act real proper in front of people, but it's how you act when you're alone that determines what type of person you are. And I've kept an eye on John Chambers for a long time, and I think he's the right man to be the sheriff. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome John Chambers, our next Cameron County Sheriff.
Thank you, Josh. Boy, that's a hard speech to follow up on. As most of y'all know, my name is John Chambers, and I am seeking the office of Sheriff of Cameron County. You know, the story that he told about Carlos Cavazos, when you look at the grand scheme of everything that's been going on, now you can see why they don't want me in office. You can see why they're afraid of little John Chambers, because nobody knew who I was when I came down here. Nobody knew who I'd been working for and working with over the last 25 years that I've been in law enforcement. I don't come here alone. I don't come here without friends in high places. We're here to fix Cameron County, and we're going to do it with your help. It's going to take all of your help to do this. This is just the beginning. We need y'all to help us get the word out and let people know the true story of who I am and what I stand for. A little bit about my background. I'm a native Texan. I'm from Texas. My grandmother was born on the Indian reservation in Oklahoma. She moved here. She was born in 1898. She moved to Polk County, Texas. They married a white man, and they had my mother, 2 aunts, and 4 boys. Came from a big family. They grew up. My mom was born in '29 during the Depression. She grew up working out in the fields, picking cotton. My father was born in Coleman County, Texas in 1927. He dropped out of school